Well, hello YouTube, it's me Fortmaster, and welcome back to a Kurzgesagt video. It's been a while since Kurzgesagt has put anything out, or at least, something out that I was willing to react to. The last thing they put out was, a video about how they made them, which I watched it was fun, but not something really reaction-worthy. So, hey, we're here with their new video. Why aliens might already be on their way to meet us. Yeah, that's a scary thought. Yeah, so anyway, as always, link to the original is in the description if you haven't seen it for some reason already. And if you want to see more stuff that I make, the top left card will be linked to the gameplay Let's Play video that I'm going to be releasing on the same day as this, which, if I've done my calculations correct, will be the next part in my Crying Sons playthrough. So, with that out of the way, let's get into this, shall we?
It's our first limited drop featuring our cosmic pioneer burbs and their space adventures. Only for a limited time on the Kurzgesagt shop.
Oh, merch, okay.
The universe is magnificent and vast. Hundreds of billions of galaxies, trillions of stars, and even more planets.
Yeah.
If even the tiniest
Lots of
fraction
floating
are
rocks.
habitable, then the universe should be teeming with life. And yet we see nothing, only vast emptiness.
Yeah.
Where is everyone else?
I believe that is what they call in the scientific community the Fermi Paradox.
The answer to this riddle could be as exciting as it is creepy. We are early, born before almost all other life. But very soon, this may change. Not only might aliens appear, they could quickly surround us. An irreversible competition for the universe might be about to begin.
Oh, okay. So this one, at least what they said is like, oh, we're early. I believe that was one potential answer to the Fermi Paradox I heard of. I'm forgetting what it was called, but literally it's what they said. We could possibly be one of the earliest advanced civilizations in the universe, and just other ones that exist just, haven't started putting out anything that we can read. So the reason why we don't see any evidence of aliens in space is because there might not be any there yet. Which is kind of scary when you think about it, or very cool as well.
While this video is based on scientific papers, we're presenting interesting ideas based on little data and lots of extrapolation. So take them with a grain of salt. Okay,
I think you need a little bit more salt.
Three essential questions to understand the galactic competition. 1. How fast can bacteria build spaceships? To become a starfaring civilization, life as we know it needs to master a number of very hard steps. It starts with dead stuff turning into the building blocks of life.
Which they've already made a video of.
Then it needs to organize into self-contained cells. Those cells have to learn to work together to form multicellular organisms. This keeps going until complex creatures with big brains learn to use tools and language. Civilization has to be formed from cultures that value progress and technological development. And then they need to actually venture out beyond their home planet.
Yeah, that's
On
an important
Earth,
part.
life appeared basically as soon as the oceans formed. But then it took 2 billion years to make the step from single cells to multicellular organisms, and 2 billion more for us to appear.
That is, just when you look at the scale, we haven't been here we've been here for the blink of an eye. On cosmic terms, it's nuts.
Culture, civilization, and space travel developed super quickly though. Do things always take that long, or was this actually exceptionally fast? Also, passing one step does not mean the next one is guaranteed. Multicellularity evolved over 25 times independently on Earth, but there's only one species that builds spaceships.
Wait, really? It evolved 25 separate times. Okay, that's what I call convergent evolution.
We don't know how many steps life needs to pass and how long they take to give rise to a technological civilization, but there are probably many, and it's likely that on trillions of planets, life has been trying for billions of years. Since we don't see any other technological civilizations out there, it might well be that we are a rare exception. We might be among the first, or even the first technological civilization in the Milky Way.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. You often hear hear some people talk about how how we as a species need to have to stop thinking of ourselves as like the center of the universe. Like it's like we have to be stopped like
Anthropocentric.
Anyway, you get what I mean. But then you have theories like this, where the reason we're not able to find other life in the universe is because there is no other life, or at least no other life like us. Just, it's coming from both directions.
But this is just one piece of the puzzle. On top of that, we may have just hit the perfect time window. Why does humanity exist now? The universe is already 13.8 billion years old, but it's unlikely that many other technological civilizations had a chance to appear before us. Because in the earlier universe, life would have had a pretty hard time to emerge, let alone thrive, because it was such a hostile environment.
Yeah.
Early stars constantly blew up, galaxies crashed into each other, and supermassive black holes vomited massive amounts of radiation.
Everywhere.
Enough to sterilize galaxies over and over again. Our sun was born right at the end of this cosmic death show. The universe has never been more welcoming to life than it is now. So humanity has arrived at a very convenient spot in time, maybe the earliest reasonably possible for life to thrive. What about the future? The sun burns brighter than 90% of the stars in our galaxy and will keep getting brighter. In about 1 billion years, it will boil all of Earth's oceans and then become a giant that swallows it whole. So in the galactic context, the sun is very short-lived. Most stars are red dwarfs that can sustain habitable planets for tens of trillions of years. Life on these planets has an incredibly long time window to appear and pass the hard steps.
Yeah.
Even knowing nothing about how rare or common life is, this makes it way more likely for technological civilizations to appear sometime in the future than in the past. Because if civilizations appear at random in the Milky Way within a time window of 1 trillion years, then very few, if any, would appear before today. Then a couple more arrive in this period of 1 billion years that we're in, before all star-faring civilizations that could ever exist emerge altogether. This weird tsunami-like distribution is the result of both the hard steps model and something else. A sort of deadline for any spacefaring civilization. Any civilization coming after will find it hard to have room to survive, so all potential life has to cram in before it.
Yeah, because there's only so many stars in the galaxy, which is an odd thing to think about. It's like, oh my god, we'd run out of stars. But I mean, at the same time...
Humanity exists now because otherwise we might have missed this deadline. What or who creates this deadline? Why?
Actually, you know what that reminds me of? One Isaac Asimov book I heard of. It's not Foundation. I'm forgetting what it's called, but it involved like a sort of like time travel police. Basically, I'm forgetting what it was called now. But you know, doing time travel police things. But it turns out that they originally just stopped all forms of hardships in, for humanity. So humanity had a nice, peaceful history before they reached the stars. But then when they got to the stars, they realized that they had given humanity such a long and peaceful history that by the time they got to the stars, there were literally no stars left. And then they had to go back and start, okay, we have to stop some things, but not all of them, so that, technology advances and humanity gets to the stars quicker before all the other aliens do. And it's just, yeah, it was weird. I haven't actually read the book. I've only heard like a brief synopsis.
Why aren't aliens already on Earth? Humans are curious, expansionist, and hungry for energy. We've spread over the world and made it our own.
Oh, that's not a good thing. It's just, I agree with it.
Time, first slowly, then breathtakingly fast. If these things don't change drastically and our descendants want to prosper, they will expand into space.
Again, we are we are on the verge, I think, and so in this year, I think it was this year, they're sending a new moon mission to orbit the moon, which will have the first Canadian astronaut to orbit the moon on it. Yay. But then in 2025, if I remember correctly, if that was the date, they are going to have the first manned mission on the moon since the Apollo mission, which I believe they're going to be landing on the South Pole, just, to land on a different spot, as well as I think it will also be the first mission in a string of missions to set up a more permanent base of operations on the moon itself. So, it's happening.
Construct a Dyson swarm for endless energy and transform planets into new homes.
Terraform Venus
We could
and
cross
Mars.
interstellar distances, allowing us to reach for planets around distant stars. If we have the motivation, we can become a galactic civilization. A civilization that does this sort of stuff can be called loud, because its activity creates noise. Sounds that can be detected from far away. Imagine someone in a forest, cutting down trees, starting fires, and laying down roads.
Very loud.
The more intense their work, the easier they are to notice. An expanding technological civilization would probably be hard to miss. Our telescopes would pick up all that energy, and we would clearly identify artificial interference with stars and planets.
Aliens!
Another consequence of this business is that it's very disruptive to the environment. Clearing a forest means the end of its wildlife. Human activity has left no chance for a squirrel civilization to appear. Not because we hated squirrels, it's simply that the thought that they might want to do that at some point never crossed our minds, and we needed wood.
Yeah.
Similarly, if loud civilizations were running around the galaxy in the past, terraforming planets, or harvesting the energy of stars, they may have prevented our existence. Had aliens started colonizing Earth while we were still sludge in the oceans, that sludge would never have turned into humans. This is how
Poor
loud
sludge.
aliens create a deadline for new civilizations appearing. The galaxy may have trillions of years to create life, but there may only be a short window for it to spread and thrive. Even if a loud civilization respects planets with naturally occurring life and expands around them like humans do with wildlife reserves, any civilization on such a planet would not be able to expand ever. Trapped forever on a tiny island.
Yeah.
But here we are, so loud aliens were probably never here. What about aliens that don't expand?
Light
They
aliens.
would be quiet aliens.
Quiet
They're
aliens.
probably limited to one star system and don't have a noticeable impact on their cosmic surroundings. Humanity is like this right now. We wouldn't be able to detect ourselves from the other side of the Milky Way. If they stay quiet forever, maybe because of their culture or abilities, then they are not really a concern for us. We only have one sample to draw from: humanity.
Ourselves, yeah,
And right
exactly.
now, we are on the path to becoming loud. If we're not special and succeed anyway, then any other civilization with the motivation and resources to would eventually expand beyond its planet of origin. Okay, what are the consequences of all these assumptions and ideas? Grave consequences.
Race for the
to
stars.
If we are really early, then eventually others will catch up with us. Civilizations will emerge all over the place, and these new aliens will look at space, see no signs of life, and come to the same conclusion. They exist because loud civilizations have not yet taken over everything, but it only takes one loud civilization to crowd them out of the entire galaxy.
That's a
They,
scary
like
thought.
us, will face an important decision. Do they stay quiet, take it easy, and tend to their planet for as long as possible, or do they start expanding to take a chunk of the galaxy before someone else arrives?
Uh-oh.
Meeting others does not necessarily mean war or conflict, but it means that new borders will arise, limits that may persist forever. In the worst case, a civilization could be completely enveloped by the empires of others, eternally doomed to be a galactic backwater without control over their fate. So if we want a seat at the galactic adults' table, we best get to work. If we really are early, we have an incredible opportunity to mold thousands or even millions of planets according to our vision and dreams. And one day when we meet others, we can greet them and meet them as equals. Wouldn't that be nice? Wait, what's this? We've finally
Advertisement.
received a signal from the Cosmic Pioneers crew that we lost
Yeah. That was nice. I like that video. And I've heard this, like, this early aliens hypothesis for the Fermi Paradox. And listening to them, I'm reminded of this one story. Forgetting what it's called now. But basically, it follows along this basically line, this line of supercomputers and the people who use them. Basically, if it starts off with like these two scientists after celebrating, they made this like fantastic new computer, and like the people are celebrating and they're having a drink, and then it's like, this thing could answer everything. It's like, oh really? You think so? I know so. It's like, oh really? Let's see. And he asked it, how do we stop the universe from dying of heat death? And the machine started chugging. And it spit out the answer, not enough data for meaningful answer. And it's like they both kind of look at each other, kind of crumpled up, throw it away, and just go back to, celebrating. Then it jumps ahead a few hundred or a few thousand. Either way, it's gotten to the point where you can have like suburban families with their own personal spaceships, and they're going out. I forgot whether they were moving or going on holiday or something. And they basically have a miniaturized version of the supercomputer from the past in their car or their ship. They ask the same questions because the kids were being a bit like, because the kids were being a bit weird. And the father asks it to print it out. He reads it. It says the same thing. He lies to them. It's like, he said it said it'll work on it when it gets there. And it goes forward ahead of time. It's gone to the point where humanity is now just living its entire existence in sleeping pods, and they're kind of like using their minds to explore the galaxy. And now the supercomputer is its own thing that goes along with humanity. Somebody asks it a question, and they start talking. It's like, we're going to fully populate this galaxy in like about 100,000 years. And after that, it's just going to be double after that. It's like, and the other guy's like, that's not too problem. Well, think about that. We'll fill up this galaxy in 100,000 years. Then we fill up the next galaxy in 100,000 years. Then we fill up the next two galaxies in the next 100,000 years. It just keeps going and going and going on from there. And they ask the now sort of like spatial ancestor of the supercomputer. It says the same thing. Not enough data for a meaningful answer. And it just keeps going on from there until you have like all of the consciousnesses of humanity merged into one being, asking the computer the same thing, and it goes on from there. If I can find the answer, the actual name of the short story, I'll put it somewhere in the video because I cannot remember it right now. But it feeds right into that whole thing where it's like, expanding because the universe is big, but it's not infinite. It just kind of feeds into the whole thing of like, the universe is big, but resources are not infinite, even if they look at it from our currently very small scale. Very nice video. I always love Kurzgesagt because it always makes me think. I always love learning stuff like this. So, either way, once again, original is linked in the description if you for some reason haven't seen it yet. So, corner link to the Let's Play of Crying Suns that I'm currently doing. And I hope you guys liked. If you did, leave a like, subscribe if not, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.
You mean you were her other mother, right?
No, I didn't pop her out. Hell, she's never even met me.
Sorry. If you were human, you'd both be called the mother, regardless of which one gave birth.
Well, I'm not human, am I? Anthropocentric bag of dicks.